As copies of the virus increase, things become more complicated. The virus bursts out and infects neighboring cells, and now the threat increases. The symptoms often start in the back of the throat, making it sore and giving it a dry cough. The virus then crawls progressively down the chest tubes. When the virus reaches the lungs, their slippery membranes become inflamed. Here at this stage, conditions become more severe. At this stage, the virus can damage the lung bags, and the organs have to work harder to carry out their function of supplying oxygen to the blood that circulates throughout the body. The swelling and the impaired flow of oxygen can cause those areas in the lungs to fill with fluid, pus, and dead cells. Ugh. Some people have so much trouble breathing that they need to be put on a ventilator. In worst cases, the lungs fill with so much fluid that no amount of breathing support can help, and the patient dies. About 80% of individuals with the in-progress coronavirus had fairly moderate symptoms. But about 20% of people become more critically ill, and the illness has been lethal in about 2% of patients in China, which, as of writing this, had the most cases. Experts say the effects appear to depend on how robust or weakened a person's immune system is. Older people or those with underlying health issues like diabetes or another chronic illness are more likely to develop severe symptoms, as mentioned earlier. The disease is known to kill between 3 to 4% of those it infects. This shows that COVID-19, or the coronavirus we know now, is not entirely fatal, but it is infectious beyond the point of control. The more it infects, the more deaths there will be, so make sure you're safe, clean, and away from crowded places. In terms of infectivity, it's almost up there with the most infectious measles and chickenpox. We don't have a full grasp of the virus right now. What we do know is that it moves from the respiratory system to the gastrointestinal tract to the bloodstream, leading to multi-organ failure and death. We're unclear on how dangerous the new coronavirus can be, and we won't know until more data comes in. Seasonal flu typically has a mortality rate below 1% and is thought to cause about 400,000 deaths each year globally. A crucial difference is that, unlike the flu, vaccines for this virus do not exist yet, which means it's more difficult for vulnerable members of the population, for example elderly people or those with existing respiratory or immune problems, to protect themselves. So in that situation, hand washing and social distancing are key to slowing and even stopping the spread of the virus. We know that not all patients go through all the phases of infection. Many of the infected people will get themselves cured either naturally or by good health facilities. According to BBC, doctors have described how some patients died despite their best efforts. The first 2 patients to die at Jinyantan Hospital in Wuhan, China, were seemingly healthy, although they were long-term smokers, and that would have weakened their lungs. The first, a 61-year-old man, had severe pneumonia by the time he arrived at the hospital. He was in acute respiratory distress, and despite being put on a ventilator, his lungs failed and his heart stopped beating. He died 11 days after he was admitted. The second patient, a 69-year-old man, also had acute respiratory distress syndrome. He was attached to an ECMO machine, but this wasn't enough. He died of severe pneumonia and septic shock when his blood pressure collapsed. A study in America examined the first case of infection in the United States. The first few symptoms were coughs followed by fever. On the 3rd day, he reported nausea and vomiting, followed by diarrhea and abdominal discomfort. From the 6th day to the 9th day, he had developed pneumonia and reported difficulty in breathing. By the 12th day, his condition had improved and his fever was dropping. He developed a runny nose, and on day 14, he was all clear except for a mild cough. That's the case of a 35-year-old man. So you can see the magic of a strong immune system. Now in this man's case, because he actually sought medical help very early and it was actually taken care of by a good medical team or good healthcare system, in countries or in places where such systems are close to non-existent, this might be a problem. It may actually lead to death if the disease is discovered late. So stay cautious, stay indoors, and help each other. We've been following the new coronavirus outbreak very closely, and we've made a lot of videos here on the topic. So if you haven't seen any of them, you can actually click here on the screen to check them out. Once again, if you have any comments about this video, how you feel, what you think we've missed, and valuable suggestions, don't be afraid to tell us your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next video, and as always, stay safe.